Writing instruction begins with a pre-assessment, and the Lucy Calkins writing progressions was one of the most useful tools that I've come across in 16 years of teaching. The writing progressions fill out the Common Core state standards for writing for each grade level. They flesh them out and they make them very clear and understandable, not only for students but for teachers. You can match each student's pre-assessment with their approximate grade level placement in writing in the progressions. So there you have your groups. You're starting out with differentiated groupings by differentiating the standards. This group of students are writing in the 2nd grade standards. This group of students is writing at 6th grade standards. From there, you differentiate for struggling writers, and there's a couple ways that you can do that. First of all, like I just said, you simplify the standard to where they're at. If they're performing at 2nd grade in introductions, then that's the standard that you're going to be focusing on. By using lower grade level writing samples and checklists, the Lucy Calkins teaching methods have to do mostly use checklists and exemplar texts. So those are also matched by grade level, so kids can kind of see what the expected writing should look like for their target. For language learners and learners with disabilities, Step Up to Writing can be very helpful with sentence starters, sentence phrase, and structures that are very student friendly in the color coding system. That's an additional scaffold that you can give struggling writers. And also you use a lot of guided groups. You do more shared writing, you model more, and you explain to them and analyze additional samples. So just giving them a lot more, helping them more, and using simpler standards and simpler texts as exemplars. In coaching and conferring individually, you may do more shared writing, more guided writing and prompting. With approaching writers that are in their ZPD with the 6th grade standards or whatever standards you are working on, modeling, the modeling lessons and the lessons when you're explaining samples, two of the main methods that we use in writing instruction. You can screencast those, and screencasting is very helpful because students can actually look back on your screencast and the sample, and you can highlight the part that you're talking about to identify it. You can underline, bold, if you're using a Google Doc as your exemplar text. And this can also be helpful for struggling writers, absent students, and students with special needs because they can revisit and review the lesson again to figure out that strategy or that pattern that that writer is using or that writers use. And explaining a simple example and explaining a sample can also be screencast. And again, you can use a Google Doc and you can highlight parts of the text that you're talking about for instruction. Then you can put approaching writers in collaborative groups where they just help each other, practice analyzing a second sample that you've handed out to them. And they need to generate observations on what types of elements or qualities the writing has and what strategies the writer is using. Then they can go on to their own writing. So with very minimal help from you as part of the class is working, while you're working with your struggling students that essentially need guided instruction, especially if they have learning disabilities. With proficient writers, screencasting is another great way to duplicate yourself in the classroom by giving a screencast, modeling or explaining a sample at another grade level, a higher grade level, or showing another aspect of the writing requirement, but at a higher level. All writers are going to need student. My dog's walking around. All writers need student conferences for their coaching and their goal setting during student conferencing. And the teaching methods are always the same for these student conferences. They're also found in your small group and your whole group instruction. You're modeling and thinking aloud. You're using text exemplars and analyzing them. And you're giving students samples for student groups to analyze. You call it inquiry. You may do shared writing for students who need more support, additional modeling, or even using step-up to writing approaches for students struggling with language demands.